The transfer portal accounted for 13 of 18 Big Ten starting quarterbacks in 2024. We look ahead to the portal situation at the quarterback position in the Big Ten for 2025. Welcome into the Voice of College Football. Best discussion, debate, and analysis right here. We take the teams that have acquired transfer quarterbacks for this spring, and we run them down team by team alphabetically. Let's get right to it, and then we will do our Big Ten quarterback rankings for 2025 here very soon. We see it often from the MAC to the Big Ten. The latest, Ethan Hampton, Northern Illinois to Champaign, Illinois to play for Brett Bielema. Played in parts of 4 seasons for NIU, most notably in this 2024 campaign, starting quarterback for most of the season, 11 of 13 games for an NIU team that finished at 8-5, and he started that game against Notre Dame, the biggest upset of college football this past season. There you see his numbers. 10 for 19 at South Bend, 53%, 198 through the air, 1 touchdown, no picks in that game. A couple weeks later against NC State on the road, he hit on 14 of 29, 48% completion percentage, 159 through the air, 1 touchdown, and 2 picks in a narrow loss against the Wolfpack. Overall, Ethan Hampton, 58.3% completion percentage for the Huskies, 1,600 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 6 picks. He will back up Luke Altmyer, entering his 3rd starting season, and of course, he was a transfer way back from Ole Miss to Illinois. Altmyer coming off by far his best season in Champaign at 60+% completion percentage, 22 touchdowns, 6 interceptions for the Illini, who finished 10-3 with a bowl victory against South Carolina, 6-3 in the Big Ten. Curtis Rourke found success under Curt Cignetti in the coach's first season in Bloomington, of course, with that surprising run to the CFP. Fernando Mendoza will be the quarterback for IU in 2025, coming in from Cal of the ACC. 68.7% of his passes. He's a gamer. He's a baller. He runs around. He is a headache for defenses. 16 touchdowns, 6 picks. Almost engineered that upset of Miami, led 35-10 before Cal blew it. And again, doesn't run the ball downfield, but he escapes pressure very well. Mendoza looking to be the starting quarterback in replacing Curtis Rourke, who had an outstanding season, as you see there. He was a transfer, of course, from the Bobcats of Ohio. But let's not forget about Grant Wilson. He may have something to say about this quarterback battle. 2 starting seasons with Old Dominion. Only played 3 games this past season at 56%, 4 touchdowns, 3 picks. But look at that 2023 showing for the Monarchs. 17 touchdowns, 8 picks, and he can scare you on the ground. 289 yards and 4 touchdowns rushing for ODU in 2023. I knew Nathan Stanley was a really good, talented, big-armed quarterback for Iowa, but little did we know that he was going to be the best Hawkeye quarterback in forever. Here we are following Spencer Petras, Deacon Hill, and even Cade McNamara was substandard. Iowa still looking for a quarterback, and I believe they have found one for 2025 as long as he is healthy, but he's going to have to sit out spring practice. Mark Gronowski, 4-year starter with the Jackrabbits. Look at that 2024, 23 touchdowns, 7 picks, over 60% completion percentage, down from 65 and 68% the 2 previous seasons. But he has led this team to the playoffs over and over again, and he can run it as well. He's a dual-threat quarterback. Remember what Max Brosmer brought to Minnesota from the FCS ranks the season before from New Hampshire. Brosmer is not the talent that Gronowski is. Now, he's a great decision maker, and Brosmer did a fine job in leading the Gophers to an 8-5 record. Gronowski could be a huge find for the Hawkeyes. Hank Brown played sparingly for Hugh Freeze on the Plains, 7 of 9 in a bowl loss to Maryland in mop-up duty. And then you see his 1 starting appearance against New Mexico in an Auburn win, 17 of 25, 68% completion percentage, 4 touchdowns, but against Bama, 3 picks and only 13 attempts. Hank Brown, unless he really shows something, will be sitting behind 2 experienced quarterbacks in Gronowski and Brendan Sullivan. I caught Justin Martin's starting debut in Happy Valley against one of the nation's best defenses, and despite being overmatched from a personnel standpoint, he acquitted himself extremely well in a 27-11 loss to Penn State. 22 of 30, a $167, a meaningless touchdown, but no interceptions against that defense in 30 pass attempts in his first starting gig. Martin may have something to say in the quarterback battle, although MJ Morris is certainly the betting favorite. 59%, 5 touchdowns, 5 picks, a lousy look with the Terps, but he played better football at NC State in the ACC, and he is definitely a running threat out of the backfield. Martin could possibly push for the job, but the betting favorite is definitely MJ Morris at Maryland after a 5 touchdown, 5 interception season, but he played much better as the starter part-time at NC State in 2 seasons. Michigan fans can't wait for the arrival of the Bryce Underwood era, but it may have to wait a few weeks, a couple months, maybe a full season in terms of meaningful time on the field if Mikey Keene has anything to say about it. Underwood is the superior talent, but Keene knows his way around a huddle. Look at all that experience, first at UCF and then Fresno State. 39 games played. He's thrown 65 touchdown passes in his career and almost a 68% completion percentage, topped by 70.5 this past season. You don't see that number very often across college football. Let's see what Mikey Keene has done against power conference opponents. In 2021, Cincinnati was still in the American at the time. Opening weekend 2023 at West Lafayette, 31 of 44 against the Boilermakers, 366 through the air, 4 touchdowns in a win for Fresno State against Purdue. 2 weeks later at Arizona State, another win for the Bulldogs, 32 of 49, 2 touchdowns, 281 through the air against the Sun Devils. And yes, Michigan fans, you are acquainted with Mikey Keene, a game that Fresno State hung in there. Actually, there was a surge late in the game by the Bulldogs. They drove down the field, and then Will Johnson with a pick 6 to seal it. 22 of 36, 61%, 235 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 picks. And then Mikey Keene finished off his Fresno State career with a date at the Rose Bowl against UCLA. 30 of 43 in a loss to the Bruins, 219 and a touchdown, but no picks in 43 attempts. PJ Fleck got the one substantial year out of Max Brosmer, who led the Gophers to a fine season. Back to the drawing board with up-and-coming Drake Lindsey taking on Zach Pyron, who never could wrestle the starting job away from guys like Haynes King in particular. This past season, he got onto the field because of King's injury, 35 of 65, 53.8%, 2 touchdowns and 3 picks. Pyron can run it as well with 6 rushing touchdowns in his career for Georgia Tech. After firing 28 touchdowns against just 6 picks for a team that went undefeated in the American Conference, it looked like Preston Stone was set in stone as the starting quarterback at SMU in 2024, but in came Kevin Jennings against BYU, and the rest is history, as Jennings led SMU to a college football playoff appearance and ACC championship game. Preston Stone, though, don't forget what he did there in 2024, as you can see there. Excellent season there. Started again for SMU out of the gate in 2024, but relinquished his job to one Kevin Jennings. Now Preston Stone, most likely the starting quarterback at Northwestern. No question, the greatest quarterback producing school in the Big Ten historically has been Purdue. Bob Greasy, Len Dawson, Mike Phipps, a guy named Drew Brees, and others. The latest, Aiden O'Connell, of course, leading the Boilers to a Big Ten championship game in 2022. Hudson Card was a good pickup from Texas. He did a fine job for the Longhorns, but certainly didn't have the personnel around him to succeed in West Lafayette. Next up, new era with Barry Odom at the helm for the Boilers. Malachi Singleton, E.J. Colson's battling for the starting job this August. Malachi Singleton got his toes wet at Arkansas and backing up Taylon Green, 21 of 28, with a touchdown pass for the Hogs. You wouldn't expect a guy like E.J. Colson, that only has 16 pass attempts in big-time college football, to be in the running for a Big Ten starting quarterback position, but it is Purdue, and considering Barry Odom starting fresh after a 1-win season, nothing is off the table, and E.J. Colson may get a starting spot or a shot at the job after 1 touchdown, 1 pick in 16 attempts at Central Florida. Joey Aguilar filled up the box score quite notably at Appalachian State as a starting quarterback the last 2 years. Look at that, 33 touchdowns in 2023. He did throw 14 interceptions this past season in a 5-6 campaign. Let's check out Aguilar's work against power conference competition, and he lit up North Carolina 22 of 43, 51%, 275, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick back in 2023. Also, they lined up, did App State against Clemson this past season, 18 of 41 with a touchdown, as App State was blown out in that particular contest. Joey Aguilar competing with Ethan Garbers at UCLA. The Hewards are legendary at the University of Washington. Both Brock and Damon. Now enter Sam, who played for rival Washington State in mop-up duty the last 2 years. 24 of 44, 1 single touchdown pass, 4 interceptions. He now goes across the state to Seattle for Jed Fish and his Huskies. Now let's go to our final stop in the Big Ten and the Wisconsin quarterback situation, which was a nightmare with Tyler Van Dyke being injured in the first quarter against Alabama. Turn it over to Braden Locke, who was not the answer, and Luke Fickell's future in Madison may rest upon the right arm and the legs of Billy Edwards. At Maryland, he ran around pretty well, 15 touchdowns, 9 picks as the starter after those 2 seasons under Talia Tagovailoa. Edwards completed 65% of his passes this past season for a 1-8 team in the Big Ten. And again, he can run around. He's got 13 rushing touchdowns in his career, as he was used as a package player when Tagovailoa was the starter. And now it's Billy Edwards, most likely the starter at Wisconsin. Although let's not forget about Danny O'Neal, starting quarterback this past season at San Diego State, lined up against Oregon State, 11 of 24 for 107 yards and a loss. That was his one outing against power conference competition for the Aztecs. 63% for the season, 12 touchdowns, 6 picks. So Billy Edwards, hang on just a second. Most likely you're the starter, but I believe Danny O'Neal might push you in August camp. We do appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football for the very best in discussion, debate, and analysis. That's our look at Big Ten transfer quarterbacks coming into the conference. We'll do the same with the SEC, the ACC, and the Big 12. Please like and subscribe right here. We will have our Big Ten quarterback rankings and the rest of the conference rankings after spring practice right here at the Voice of College Football.